Look, thanks to the Cougar is back! Yeah! But I'm making you look on the Disgustang instead, because in truth, Freiburger is back! The Disgustang is back. I love this car, and we're finally gonna turn it into my personal ultimate roadkill daily driver. You remember this thing back from the original episode of Roadkill where Finnegan and I rescued it out of Colorado Auto and Parts, where it had been sitting since like 1981, filled with raccoon poop, hence the name, the Disgustang. But we got it all cleaned up and made it run and drive and had some fun doing some donuts around the junkyard that day. But I fell in love with the car, and I knew that that could not be the end. And that's why there was a second episode of Roadkill. Finnegan and I came in to pick the car up, and we thrashed it around in a dirt field and ended up actually blowing up the original 351 V8 that was in this thing. But that was okay, because we were able to take a 408 crate motor that I had and dump it into the car, and Finnegan and I hit the road and drove all the way to Washington State, where we thrashed a bunch of our project cars at DirtFish, including the Disgustang, and man, it was a lot of fun. So I ended up sending the car to Hot Rod Ranch. I asked those guys to fix all of the rust in the car, which proved to be a lot. We put new floors in it, we did the bottoms of the quarters and stuff, but the key is they touched the paint in so that it still looked completely original. And that brings us to this episode of Roadkill Garage, where we're gonna begin the mechanical makeover of turning this into my ultimate daily driver.
Oh, it doesn't roll too bad.
Nope.
I really like the way it looks, man.
Mustang is gonna be great. This thing's ideal. Here's the plan of action. By the end of the episode, I want the Disgustang running, driving, bang shifting, and a clean enough installation that I don't have to come and do anything else again. So we are gonna start by gutting the whole engine compartment, prepping it, painting it, and then after that, we're gonna have to convert it to power steering, assemble the engine, put the new 5-speed swap in the thing, and get it in the car with all the wiring and plumbing and everything else. So we got a lot to do, and it's gonna begin with cosmetics of cleaning up this whole mess. Boom! Oh, look at the rust. I should fix that. You got all the nuts off?
I got the one off. You said there was only one left. This is where not being a Ford guy is really biting us.
It's a terrible design.
Yeah, there's something more going on here.
Yeah, it's butchered.
So it turned out there's actually 5 bolts that hold the booster in, which is super unusual. Usually there's...
And annoying.
I know. Usually there's only 4, one at each corner, but there's one directly over the steering column. So it's kind of hidden from sight in a really unusual location. I pulled that out, so this should come out now, I think.
That looks rock solid.
It should just fall
Seems like
right out.
the threads must be stuck on that double wall thing.
Yeah, that thing is pretty stuck in there. Let me try prising it.
Steering column.
Boy, it sure seems stuck in there. Ow! Ooh, that was close.
Wow, who would put a bolt right there on a booster?
Okay, I actually dented the firewall, and I don't do stuff like that normally. That just completely changed my mood.
You're in a bad mood now?
Well, look, I'm just actually kind of crushed and disappointed in myself, and I feel like, you know, just a neophyte, a beginner.
There's no way it takes this much work to get a booster out of a car. This is insane. Yep.
All right.
Got it?
That should do it. Some Ford guy might have needed that for his rest stop.
The Chrysler Fifth Avenue hood has proven the ultimate source of patch sheet metal for the Disgustang. Yay. Okay, actually not too bad. That only took like 10 times longer than expected, but we finally got everything gutted out of here and we're ready to like degrease it. I wanted to be at this point about 6 hours ago. So we're gonna shove the thing outside with no steering and degrime. Oh, okie dokie. So you know what this looks like. Another hour and a half of just scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing. I think Steve and I will hang out tonight, maybe paint some parts on the engine, and in the morning we'll paint the engine compartment black, prep the engine for installation, and actually get this show on the road. Because today was not that productive.
One of my goals here is to make the whole engine compartment of the car really pristine. I want it to look full-on resto. And we're gonna spray it with the factory kind of satin black. Now, we had a couple of rust repairs we found right here under the battery tray. Freiburger handled that. I'm using 180 and some red Scotch-Brite pads to scuff this all up before shooting it, then I'll dust it down, and it'll be pretty smooth, especially for a semi-gloss kind of finish.
This is a 410 cubic inch stroker. It's based on a 351 Windsor small block, and it's the same engine that you saw in earlier episodes of Engine Masters where we did a big cylinder head shootout, and we found out that this 195cc inlet runner airflow research cylinder head was the best one for power on this tame little engine. It makes 480 horsepower at 5,500, and it makes 520 pound-feet at 3,900. It's very, very mild as far as small cam and drivability and everything, but it makes a really nice torque curve. Right now, I'm just gonna be cleaning the thing up, and I'm gonna go risky. Instead of making it look like a race engine all detailed and everything, I am painting everything blue. What do you think?
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. No sooner did I prime it than Dulcich is right in here with the can. He loves to paint stuff.
Oh, but look at that blue, it's gleaming. Man, Freiburger, I think you might be onto something. There's no reason to go crazy, because if you put it on super thick, it's more likely to chip. That's all the paint I'm gonna give it. I'm done. All blue. I'm sold.
We've got everything all painted up, and I think the anchor of this whole deal is going to be this. And this is a vintage air bracket that handles the air conditioning compressor and alternator and tensioner for a serpentine drive and power steering, everything. You can see how this front bracket that's gonna go on here is like crazy out of control compared to the stock die-cast aluminum one. We'll start by getting this on there, and then we'll throw on the oil pan, cylinder heads, intake manifold, and the whole thing's gonna come together. Pretty much ready to flip it over into the oil pan now.
I've got the idler arm removed from the frame rail on the passenger side. We've already taken the bracket that secures the assist ramp off of the driver's side frame rail. And I think all I have left is 3 bolts holding the steering box, and then the whole mess is just gonna drop to the ground. Boom! Done. That was strangely satisfying. Finally, it's just about time to paint. I've got everything masked up and everything's sanded, clean, blown off. I tack ragged it pretty much well enough, and now I'm ready to shoot. I'm just gonna give it a light coat first, color it up, and then probably a few coats until I'm satisfied that I've got good even coverage. It's looking better already.
Dude,
Done.
man, that is a 3-day looking engine compartment.
What do we have, 4 days to do this whole
Right.
thing? Yeah, but the engine bay looks good.
It looks great. Should we unmask it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's dry.
Oh, that's so much better. So Steve's got the whole engine compartment painted now. Looks awesome. Now we can get to mechanical work. First thing we're gonna do is install that Borgeson power steering box and all the linkage. Our upgrades begin. Here's the first one. I'm eliminating all the factory Ford power steering gobbledygook. You'll see this in a lot of these early Fords, Mustangs, Comets, Falcons, Cougars, all of this stuff. They used a power ram with this hydraulic control valve for power steering, along with what was essentially a manual steering box. Thing is, people don't know how to rebuild this stuff. It leaks, it's a mess, it's complicated, it gets in the way of headers. I'm eliminating it. And installing this trick unit. Borgeson Steering makes this integrated power steering box that eliminates this entire ram, puts all the power assist in the box itself. Now when you do that, there's a couple ways that you can go as far as installing it in the car. If you have a power steering car that has all of this stuff in it, you can get a little adapter to eliminate the control valve, and so that there's no slop in the steering, and essentially makes it a solid piece of linkage to use with this box. But instead, I'm converting everything to factory manual steering linkage. It's just a whole lot tidier, and it's going to be easier since everything needed to be replaced anyway. Here's one note on that though. If you're going to do what I'm doing, which is the power box with the manual factory linkage, get a power steering idler arm. And the reason for that is that the preload on the bushing on this thing should be different depending on who you get it from, so that there is more springiness in the return of the steering wheel on the power steering setup. So if you use the power steering idler, you're going to get more return to center than you will, theoretically, if you use the manual steering idler. I hope that's true with this Moog part that I've used here. Man, the frame is not reinforced here for the box at all. You could just crush the frame with a bolt. I don't know how people consider these things race cars. Is there a master spline?
Yeah, it's got the 4 splines, so it can go in 4 positions.
Oh, okay. Oh man, I'm glad I left the column out because I was under the dash dealing with all these pedals. I got a lot going on here. First of which is, we're gonna be converting this car to a stick. So I gotta put a clutch pedal in it. Second of which, we're taking out the factory power brakes that were in this thing. We're putting in just non-power brakes, but that means that you need a different pedal. And they reproduce a power pedal, but they don't make a manual pedal, so we stole this one out of that 69 Pro Street Coupe. Fortunately, the pedal box itself in the car accommodates both pivots, because on the manual brake cars, the brake pedal pivots on the same point as the clutch pedal. Am I holding that right? I am. So they're gonna go together like that. But you can see that this still has the automatic transmission wide pedal pad on it, and I am going to modify it to take the conventional manual transmission pedal pad, which means I'm gonna be hacking that much off the back of that. Boom, okay. I should now be able to custom tune it with the grinder to fit the clutch type pad. Perfect.
Well, all right, battery tray's in. Humpty Dumpty is getting back together again. Freiburger welded in that new piece, and that should be good.
We're still working on the Bermuda Triangle of steering, brakes, and clutch. Right now, Dulcich has got the hydraulic master cylinder for the clutch release bearing all plumbed into the firewall. And I got a master cylinder off a 74 Maverick with disc and drum brakes, but no power. It's a 15/16 bore. And I can mount it right here into the firewall, except for that, if you look in here, you can see that the old booster left a giant hole, which is gonna create a leak of water and air and fumes and everything else. And so I'm gonna use that as an opportunity to build a plate there that will reinforce the firewall and plug that hole. So I have to go cut this out of a nice thick piece of metal. Now it's like 2 weeks later. Something happened to Dulcich's face in the meantime. Wait till you see it. But he forced me to make a list. And the list is short. We're still doing the same things we were when we last left you. Master cylinder, line lock, proportioning valve, and then I gotta slam the whole engine and transmission together. We gotta put the column in. I don't know where it went though. I probably lost everything.
Now I'm starting to feel a little self-conscious. I don't know. I was watching a few Bronson flicks, and I thought, man, that's some pretty good action movie stuff going on. And I was inspired. But the crew got here, and they're making fun of me, they're mocking me, they're laughing out loud. So I'm not too sure. It might have to go away, but I thought it was kind of cool. The Bronson stash. Should it stay or should it go?
Go!
No way! What I'm working on here is the steering column. Now we put the Borgeson steering box in, and it's got a different depth than the stock box, so that's got to be taken up by the column. The shaft here will telescope. It wasn't done for adjustability, it was done for safety, so the column will collapse. So I can adjust the length of the actual steering shaft, but I can't get it short enough even if it's hammered all the way in, so I'm gonna have to cut the outer sleeve right here. I put a tape line on where I'm gonna cut it using the trusty death wheel, and then I'm going to cut the inner sleeve, hammer the shaft back in, reinsert the plastic bushing, and hopefully everything will fit perfectly. Hey Freiburger, I've got the column all shortened up and ready to install. All right. Oh, that's great. If that didn't fit bad things would have happened.
I'm stoked because finally we're going to install that TK0600 manual trans. It's a 5-speed behind the 410 stroker. First thing that we need to do here is make sure that this register on the bell housing is perfectly concentric with the center line of the engine's crankshaft, because if the crank is here and the transmission input shaft is offset a little bit, you'll like eat up bearings and it won't power shift well and stuff. So you have to make sure that the concentricity is within 0.005 of an inch, according to American Powertrain. So what we've done is we've rigged this dial indicator on a magnetic base that's attached to the flywheel in there. And then as the engine rotates, this part of the indicator rides around in that circle and it will change this reading. Starting with 0 right up here at the top, we found that it was 11 thousandths here, 28 thousandths here, 17 thousandths here, and that's negative numbers. So basically, I know that this in the vertical plane is 0 to 28 thousandths. So that means that this hole is 28 thousandths down from the crankshaft center line. Now the other thing is side to side, we had 11 thousandths here and 17 inch here. And so the difference right there is 6 thousandths of an inch, which isn't that much to worry about. The real problem is the up and down. What I have to do is get offset dowel pins. So I ordered some 14 thousandths offset dowels, and we're gonna install them with the offset roughly in this direction right here to try and move the thing up and just a hair that way to try and center it side to side. Now I've got the dowels in roughly where I think they need to be. I have to rehang the whole apparatus here and see if we can get it right before I send those dowels all the way home. Okay, now it's swinging to the other side, and tap, 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 stop. So that's +6. Okay, we've got the dowels pretty much where they need to be, although honestly, we're gonna have to set up that whole rig again when we do a final tightening and get it perfect, but I'm ready to put the clutch together. I've got the pilot bushing in there. I've got the block plate in here. This thing is a universal block plate that has a knockout right here for either the 164 tooth flywheel, which they generally call a manual transmission flywheel, or the 157, which is what I've got here. I'm ready to bolt it in. I'm just gonna hang it in with one bolt and then Loctite them and install. Flywheel's on, now clutch. This is all parts from American Powertrain, including the clutch alignment tool, which you slip through the middle of the disc, center it in the pilot right there, and that is gonna hold that all square so that later on when we slip the transmission in, it's all aligned. So what I'm gonna do is go around here and get all of the bolts started and then carefully cinch down the pressure plate while I'm making sure that that disc is centered in the whole doohickey. Okay, how does that thing slide in and out? Ooh, mint. Look at that.
That's the test.
This is really key to have this slide in and out like that, because that just helps you know that you're gonna be able to get the transmission in pretty good. Okay, what do you think?
I'm happy. Boy, that's pretty nice.
I know.
It's way too nice for us.
This is our Tremec TK0600. The first thing we had to do to make this all work is set up the hydraulic throwout bearing. It eliminates the need for having like a slave cylinder that presses on a manual clutch fork. And instead, this bearing just expands and contracts to release the clutch. But basically what's involved is making sure that this stack up matches with the distance from the fingers to the face of the bell housing to ensure that you've got 150 to 200 thousandths clearance to the throwout bearing, which we've done. Oh, weird. It's saying actually install the bell housing on the transmission and then install the whole thing onto the engine.
Oh.
We're not going to do it, though.
No.
Well, you know what? It won't work because this is this diameter and this is bigger than that. So we're going to have to do it that way. We have to take the bell housing back off. To just read the instructions, you can actually get it right. Ready to slam it together? There we go. Wow, that finally feels like an accomplishment. Took long enough.
I know, but we're only this far away from dropping it in the car.
I have been waiting for this for so long.
I know. It's the moment of truth.
Keep going.
Tell me when to stop.
Okay.
It's gonna swing back as it comes down.
Yeah, do partial lower.
We might be good this time.
Wow, look, it's pretty much installed. After looking at what we did here, it's obvious we just need to pull the engine and trans back out. We got a clearance problem with the header up against the steering box here, and there's a cross member inside the tunnel that I needed clearance for the transmission, so I'm just gonna have to take it all back apart. First thing I'm gonna do is take the corner off this steering box because it is hitting the header, so it's gone. Now I'm working on my second problem, which is the transmission hitting this sort of stamped cross member in the floor right here. So what I'm gonna have to do is cut this all out, and then I'm gonna go through and do some grinding and some spot welding and stuff to take this transmission cross member and reinforce it just a little bit better than factory, because let's be honest, Ford barely tack welded these cars together. Okay, I got the steering box clearance and the floor of the car. We're ready to throw the engine and trans back in and see if I did any good. Yep. Whoa.
Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's much better.
And it is in place. Okay, let me get a bolt in.
We've got the engine placed exactly where we want it in the car. We've got the transmission fitting in the tunnel. The only thing left is a couple of little dings on the headers for clearance, and then we're all done.
Okay, I think that's pretty good.
All right.
This is a major moment in the history of the Disgustang. The engine and trans are completely locked down into place, and the headers are totally installed and currently not hitting anything. This means we're ready to move on to other things. I'm just not sure what those other things are gonna be just yet, because there's a lot. I mean, this thing needs everything. Wiring, cooling, fuel system, front suspension, drive shaft, rear end. Everything. Here's what we decided to do next, subframe connectors. A lot of guys install these because these cars are so flimsy and these can improve handling. That's not what it's about for me. It's about not squeaking and rattling. They're gonna weld in a couple of subframe connectors like this to connect the front and the back of the car, but then the big deal is this X, which is gonna make it really rigid. We've already pre-fit them under there. I'm gonna have to go mark all of the weld spots, clean them up on the car, clean the powder coating off this, and then just zap the thing in place. Once we get the two subframe connectors in, we will move to installing the X. Building this car's been like eating the elephant. There's just so much to do. You have to start somewhere, and we started with getting the drivetrain in. And now I have a goal, which is to make the engine run. That is gonna start with the distributor right here, and then I'm gonna throw the carburetor on there, get some fuel system going, and I'm gonna make this thing run, and that will be my point of victory. Okay, ready for transmission fluid?
Yeah.
It's going in. We're getting pretty close. I think we're at the point where I want to just crank the thing and just get some oil pressure into it before we fire it up. There we go. 20 PSI. 30. 40. Okay, that's plenty happy.
There's nothing more to do there.
Great. Okay, you ready for cranking?
Yeah.
Ignition's on.
Ignition on, okay. I'll start the engine.
Done.
Yeah, you nailed it on timing too. It sounded pretty good.
It sounds like it needs some adjustment. It seems a little retarded, but yeah, that is a relief. I have spent so much time and money on the Disgustang. I really want it to be good, and I set the thing perfectly and it fired right up. Still needs a little timing adjustment, but man, That's a good moment right there. That's it for this episode on the Disgustang. Next time, we're gonna be going through the suspension and everything so that we can actually drive it and get some violence, just like we're about to go do with Dulcich in the Cougar. Bam!
There it is. And it's got tags now.
The Cougar is really great. Dude, this thing was the very first episode of Roadkill Garage.
Well, now.
Oh, this thing is mechanically identical to the Disgustang. It's like the same thing. That's why I need to take a ride for inspiration.
You know, the clutch is kind of fried on this car. It has 2.8 gears, and it's got a close ratio top loader transmission with, I think, a 236 first gear.
And we did burnouts in it within the first 50 feet of getting it running and driving. We never broke in the clutch.
That was probably a mistake. Should I get on it?
Bank shifted. So that's it. The Cougar is pure inspiration for the Disgustang. So come back next time for more Ford action on Roadkill Garage. What happened to your face?
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Got the Bronson going on.
Well, okay, I was binge watching a lot of Charles Bronson movies.
Yeah?
And I don't know, I'm easily open to, you know, suggestibility.
Fashion
and
suggestion.
I thought, man, you know, that looks pretty tough. So
No.
I just figured I'd go with it. You don't like it?
It's pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Bronson.
It's Bronson.
When I come back around, really know what to say. Not today, maybe tomorrow. Open up the door, can you open up the door? I know you said before, you can't cope with anymore. You told me it was war, said you'd show me what's in store. I hope it's not for sure, can you open up the door? When I looked away, saw you turn around, but it wasn't your face. Said I need to be alone now, I'm taking a break. How come when I returned, you were gone away?